Good. All right. The Springfield Municipal Board of Zoning Appeals for Tuesday, June 11th, 2024 is now in session. I'll ask you to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would, please, we'll call the roll now.
Poole,
Here.
Simmons, Woodard, Sherrod,
Here.
Bychecker.
Here.
We have 3 present, we have a quorum.
Very good. Item 1.3, approval of minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals held on April 9th. Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of approval of those minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Item 1.4, public comment period. Do we have anyone here for public comment?
No one registered.
No, none. Very good. We'll move into 2.0, new business. 2.1, discuss and possibly take action on a conditional use to bring into compliance and upgrade Robin Hood Apartments located at 2614 South Main Street. Would you please read this into our minutes, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is Robin Hood Apartments. Our representative tonight is Jake Ramsey. This is tax map parcel 0191, parcel 084. Zoning is R10, is a medium density residential district. Acreage is 4.04. The city is Springfield zoning ordinance 11-509, section C, multifamily dwelling is permitted use with a conditional use permit. In accordance with 11-1306J, Pacific Standards for Residential Activity, the general requirements for conditional use and specific standards outlined in the City of Springfield zoning ordinance shall be granted, provided the board makes specific findings that it.
Special conditions for multifamily dwelling is to be read. In addition to the standards contained in Chapter 8, the Board of Appeals shall specifically find that there will be no adverse impact upon adjoining properties or neighborhood in which such use is proposed. In making this finding, the board shall consider the effect upon traffic congestion, overcrowding of schools, availability of necessary public utilities, and character of adjoining structures, and suitability of the site for the use, and such other factors as the board may deem necessary.
The property was originally built in 1990 prior to the zoning ordinance was established. The owner of the Robin Hood Apartments is applying for financing to make capital improvement and upgrades to the development. The financing requires, as part of the rehabilitation, that a bedroom be added to 10 of the 24 existing 2-bedroom units. Staff has reviewed the application and the area for any adverse impact and found none. The rehab will add value to the apartments and the community as a whole. Public notice was posted in the newspaper and letters were mailed to the adjoining property. No concerns were made. Staff reviewed and has no concerns. This board needs to approve this request, disapprove this request, or postpone the action.
Very good, thank you. Can we get a motion to get this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I second.
We have a second. Very good. Is Mr. Jake Ramsey here?
Yes, sir.
We might have a question.
Well, I hope I can answer it for you.
Okay. I know exactly where the Robin Hood Apartments are. Now, will this be added on to the existing structure? Is that how this is going to work?
Yes, sir, that's correct. There are currently 24 2-bedroom apartments. 10 of those would have a bedroom added onto the existing structure to convert those 2-bedroom apartments to 3-bedroom apartments.
So will this be built on just closer to the sidewalks, or how's that going to work?
It will be built outwardly in the buildings. I actually have a picture of, ma'am? Yeah, you can't really see it that well in that picture, I'm sorry. But I do have a picture of a similar structure where we did the same thing, basically. Let me give you this picture
Sure.
so you can see it better.
We'd love to see it.
That answers your question.
Oh.
The addition you can tell is.
Oh, I
Okay.
see, yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Not a drastic change in the appearance of the building at all, is it?
It's not, and honestly, that was done about 5 or 6 years ago, like I said, to a similar development in Tennessee. I can't say that the materials used for the facade of the addition would be exactly the same, but they would likely be similar. And it would probably be a cementous siding, like a James Hardy
Yeah.
siding product that would be a low maintenance or maintenance-free type facade.
Says the rehab will add value to the apartments, community as a whole. Public notice was posted. They received no mail as far as from anybody with the adjoining property, no public concerns. Staff reviewed and has no concerns. Any questions? Any comments?
And what is the occupancy rate? Is it? do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't know current occupancy information. I apologize for not having that available for you. I did visit the property today, and the parking lot was about half full, but that was before 5 o'clock, and I think it's mostly occupied by families, so I wouldn't expect for all the folks that live there to be there until after 5 o'clock, so. But from the parking that was there, it seemed that the development was occupied. And I am not aware that any apartment is currently down or, as we say in the industry, are not available for occupancy. So,
If I understand it right, the Robin Hood apartments are a situation that your rent is based on your income. Is that correct or incorrect or partially correct?
partially correct. You're kind of getting in the weeds to, the program under which it was originally financed in 1990 and the requirements of that program. And I can't speak exactly to those requirements without looking at specifically the use agreement that governs that particular property, because those programs evolve and the rules would change, and that building, that development was built and that use agreement was put in place 35 years ago. But a general understanding of how the rent works is that there's a ceiling of income to persons who are able to live there, to qualify to live there initially. Now, that income is 60% of the area family average income or lower, but you still have to have, funds to pay the rent or have some kind of rental support to live there. So that's it in a nutshell.
While this construction is going on, the people that live in these units that will be affected, will they have to leave, or what's the plan for that?
There's a couple of, so the company that I represent owns a lot of properties like Robin Hood Apartments, and they have, as funds are available, been able to go in and make renovations similar to the picture that I gave you. There's a couple different approaches depending on the extent of the rehab necessary. I'll just describe both of those because I'm not sure exactly which one would be applicable to this property because I'm not the contractor, so I can't speak for them. But the two approaches that are typically taken is one is a fast approach where persons will be moved out of the building and temporarily occupied somewhere else, like a hotel room or some other available place for them to stay, and their units would be rehabbed in like 2 to 3 days. The other approach is to accrue vacancies through like attrition over time, enough that you could concentrate those vacancies to a particular building, and then that building would be rehabbed over whatever time it took, and then persons from, say, building A would be then moved into the newly rehabbed building, and that building would be rehabbed, and then persons from building C would move into that building, and those units would be rehabbed. It really depends on the extent of the rehab necessary and the funds available to perform the rehab, and just how far those funds will go as to what scope is available to be rehabbed, and then therefore, what kind of time frame that scope requires to be undertaken.
Anything?
I don't know if that was the parking, but do you know how many spaces are allotted to each park?
Yes, I do. I have notes on that. I believe there are currently 92 parking spaces. I have that in my notes. I just don't have it presently. I'm almost certain there were 92 parking spaces. It kind of jumps out at me, but I just can't put my finger on the note presently.
Let's see, and there, how many bedrooms are there now, do you know?
It is 48 units total, half of those being one-bedroom apartments and
Okay.
half of those being two-bedroom apartments.
Okay. So, so in theory, you might add 10 cars, maybe, probably not, like 5. So,
If, for instance, I'm living in a two-bedroom unit and I'm asked to leave and come back to a three-bedroom unit, my rent goes up, I guess, doesn't it?
That depends on your situation, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, if you're, I would think so. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not, at this time, I don't have information about what the three-bedroom rent would be, and I apologize for that also. But if you have need for a three-bedroom and meet an occupancy standard to, you know, qualify for a three-bedroom, then you would likely pay more rent for that additional space.
Any other questions, comments?
I don't think so.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
I don't know what I'd do if y'all weren't here.
Ventriloquist.
Do what?
Poole? Oh,
The
sorry.
vote.
Yeah, call the roll, please.
Okay, Poole,
Yes.
Sherrod,
Yes.
Thank you.
Weizsäcker.
Yes.
Passes with 3.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Thank you. We appreciate it. Our next item on our itinerary is item 2.2, discuss and possibly take action on a conditional use to bring into compliance TAS Environmental Services LP located at 1134 New Hope Lane. Would you please read that into the minutes, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the application is TAS Environmental Services, LP. Our representative tonight is Edward Murray. Tax map 092H, Group A, parcel 016. Zoning district is Restricted Industrial District, 11-702. The city's Springfield Ordinance, 11-702, Section C, Industrial Activities, Immediate Manufacturing Activities is a conditional use permit and in accordance with 11-1306I, specific standards for intermediate manufacturing activities. The general requirements for conditional use and specific standards for outlined in the city zoning ordinance shall be granted, provided the board makes specific findings that it
1, the activity takes place in completely enclosed buildings with no outdoor storage of materials or finished products. 2, access for heavy trucks and employees is from a major thoroughfare or industrial access road from a major thoroughfare with residential streets unaffected. 3, strict compliance with all performance standards is certified.
Staff has reviewed the application and supporting documents. The owner is seeking to conduct activities on-site considered immediate manufacturing, including treatment of wastewater and non-hazardous solid waste. The property has been operation as immediate manufacturing over the past 10 years. It was recently discovered that the business had not received a conditional use permit. Granting the conditional use will allow them to comply with the zoning ordinance. The property is located both in commercial and restricted industrial district areas on a dead-end road. Activities are enclosed, no outside storage, unaffected by residential traffic, and the Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation, TDEC, has issued a Tennessee Multi-Sector Permit, TMSP, operational permits. Public notice was posted in a newspaper, letters were mailed to adjoining property, no public concerns were made, staff and administration reviewed and have no concerns. This board needs to approve this request, disapprove this request, or postpone the action of this request.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can we get a motion to get this on the floor for discussion?
My motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. I think there's a group of gentlemen back there.
Edward,
One up, right here, yes.
Edward Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, sir, come forward.
All right.
Introduce yourself to us.
I'm Edward Murray.
Righty.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
And what do y'all do at your TAS Environmental Services?
The facility operates under a handful of permits. We have a water treatment with the city of Springfield where we treat industrial wastewater and discharge it to the POTW. We have a state of Tennessee permit for processing of solid waste, non-hazardous solid waste, so latex paint, oily rags, we mix that together and blend that into a homogeneous mixture for landfill. We have a used oil handlers permits, we bring in used oil that will be recycled. We test that, tank it, and we send that off-site to a third party.
And so y'all have been in operation at your present location, and then it was discovered that you didn't have the proper zoning to be there, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. We acquired the business in November of last year and discovered the miss on the zoning in March of this year.
That happens.
It does, yes, sir, it does.
Public notice was posted, no letters were mailed as far as anybody with any complaints, no public concerns. Staff administration reviewed and have no concerns. Any questions? Any comments?
No, I'm good.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Hichecker,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Sherrod,
Yes.
passes with 3.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Item 2.3, discuss and possibly take action on reducing the side setbacks located on John L. Patterson, please. Would you read this into our minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a variance request from Charles Cantrell, tax map 091A, B parcel 029. It's a zoned R7 high-density residential. The requirements for a minimum lot is 7,000 square feet. The existing lot is 4,944 square feet. The required minimum building setback is 25 feet front, 15 rear, and 8 feet on the side. The variance request is for 3 feet on the sides. Sorry, on the sides. So proposing from 8 feet to 3 feet on the sides. Sorry about that. Staff reasoned the records. There are 9 subject standards for variance that staff reviews in the Springfield zoning ordinance 11-1305, zoning variance C standard for variances.
1, particular physical surroundings, shape, and topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict application of this ordinance were carried out must be stated.
The road frontage has 28.31 feet, resulting in a particular hardship. This criteria was met.
2, the conditions upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally or other property within the same district.
The conditions and situation would apply to other properties in the same district if the properties had the same situation. This criteria was met.
3, the variance will not authorize activities in a zone district other than those permitted by this title.
The property is located in a residential district and an allowable principal permitted use. This criteria was met.
4, financial returns only shall not be considered as a basis for granting a variance.
The owner plans to develop and sell the property. This criteria was not met.
5, the alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date of this title.
This property was created before the Springfield zoning ordinance was established. This criteria was met.
6, the granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this title to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same districts.
The variance itself is a special privilege, and any person or property owner could request a variance from this board. This criteria was met.
7, the variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure.
The variance will make possible the reasonable use, land, building, and structure. This criteria was met.
8, the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to any other property or improvements in the area in which the property is located.
Granting the 5-foot variance, 5-foot side variance will allow for a single-story home. This criteria was met.
9, the proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, substantially increase the congestion of the public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the area.
The 5-foot distance from the property line may require fire protection. This criteria was met. There were 8 out of 9 criteria met. The staff and administration have reviewed the request and have no objections to providing this is a single-story family that meets the building and the fire codes. This board needs to approve the request, disapprove, or postpone the request. Charles Chantrell is here if you have any questions.
Very good, thank you. So we have 8 out of 9 criteria met. Staff and administration has reviewed the request, have no objections to providing this single-story home, meets building and fire codes. Can we get a motion to get this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Got a second. Mr. Cantrell,
Yes, sir.
would you come forward, please?
I make one correction. The side setback that we're asking for from 8 is down to 5, so we're reducing the side setback by 3 feet on either side.
I saw that at first, like 3 foot.
No, yeah, so it's a 5-foot setback from the property line.
This home you plan to build, will it be for sale, for rent?
It'll
or-
be for sale.
Okay, very good. Anyone, any questions?
And it's on John L. Patterson?
Yes, it is.
You mentioned it'll need fire protection. Do you mean as far as construction?
It just needs to meet the building and the fire code.
Okay.
Any questions, any comments?
Always like to ask, you didn't want to build a 10-foot wide house?
It's, we could have gone down, I think, to 14, but yeah.
I was just trying to look at the,
Yeah, that's nice. Do we have a motion to approve?
so moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second. Would you call the roll, please?
I will. Sherrod,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Whitechecker.
Yes.
It passes with 3.
Very good. Under old or other business, board meeting training is scheduled for June the 11th at 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And that happens to be today, I believe. Without anything else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
I second.
Second, we will stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance.